Welcome, everyone, to episode 397 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentolaresco. I write stuff and podcasts, too. Today, I conclude my conversation with Liana Kerzner. We go a little extra long because Liana's just that awesome. I really dug this conversation, and I think you will, too. In fact, so much so, I'll just get out of the way. Let's just get to that conversation, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
Yeah, and I mean, if it was just all that, I'd never stop playing.
Yeah.
And the action games, the really tough action games, you can only play for so long until you get tired. But any of those more strategic type games, it's like, oh my god, like I just played for 5 hours, what happened to my day?
Yeah.
You know, whereas if you're playing something more heavy action, you can only play for about 2-3 hours before it's like, nah, I want to do something else. You know?
So for me, it goes like this. If it's a game like No Kune or Persona,
Right.
they suck my life. They just do.
Yes.
They do. I really like Ni no Kuni. I really like Persona 5. They're great.
Yeah, Ni no Kuni is very, very sweet. I mean, it's Miyazaki making a video game.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The only thing I didn't like about it was actually I thought the ending was a little short. But I really enjoyed the game. I really did. Right?
You know what? You're right. I think, yeah.
Yeah. The ending was a little short. Yeah. But the bonus content was awesome. I love the bonus content in that game. So, so it's like that's one of my favorite. Like, I love those kind of games, and those I could play forever. That's why I don't play World of Warcraft. I can't, because if I played World of Warcraft, we wouldn't.
You can't win. Yeah, it just goes on forever.
It goes on forever, and I did it twice, and after the second 8-hour session, I was like, no, I can't do this. I just can't. I like it too much. I've learned as I've gotten older what I'm not mature enough for. That's Netflix. I can't do Netflix. Yeah. I can barely do YouTube.
Really?
You get rabbit holes.
Gotcha.
You go down rabbit holes on YouTube.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I can do it. Like I can do it, but it's just like, oh shit. Like, yeah. But I still sometimes, even when the days I do it, it's like I 2 hours of my day I'm never getting back. Was it really worth it? Probably not. Probably not. Then again, sometimes you're like, you know what? I needed that. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you need to take a day and just like wipe the hard drive, so to speak, like kind of clear your mind. Mhm.
Yeah, and we all need those days. So that's why I'm just mature enough for YouTube, but I'm not mature enough for Netflix. Kill la Kill was my say. Nope, I can't do it.
Oh my god, people keep telling me I need to watch that.
It's a good show. I shouldn't have been able to watch it all in one night.
Okay.
It's not that good a show. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good show, but it's not that good. Right? 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 It's like Daredevil, the first season was that good. It's like, okay, that was addicted. That was good. But when I had Kill la Kill, like, no, I can't do this either. Shit. I have no self-control whatsoever in this new world. I'm going to be on these little, like, hermit hillbillies when I'm in my 60s, just up in the mountains somewhere going, I can't do this. This stuff's too cool for me. I can't.
See, it's certain things, like, I'm normally able to do, like, only 2 or 3 episodes a night on a show. That's my idea of binge watching. After that, I'm kind of like, I don't care. But with TV shows, it takes a lot for a TV show to hook me. I think the only one I've really gotten pulled into is Westworld. I'm just obsessed with that show. But of course, that's basically a show about a real life video game, so I think we figured out why I like it.
You'd like my novel.
Oh, cool!
I think you'd like my novel. So, my novel is about a very cowardly character that follows a girl with a gun game into a digital cloud, and he gets a file for everything from zombie mobsters to unicorn that part rainbows wants. So, something tells me you'd enjoy that.
The way the show deals with what it means to be alive and what it means to be subconscious and never quite answers the question. It just gives you what various characters think of the question, and I like stuff that doesn't shove stuff down your throat.
That's classic science fiction, like when you get right down to it.
Yeah.
That's classic science fiction.
I mean, I'm watching Star Trek Discovery right now, and everything people told me about that show is wrong.
What did people tell you about the show?
They told me that, well, they did say that it got better after the first 2 episodes. And they were right about that. But they said it wasn't very loyal to classic Star Trek. And I totally disagree. I think it's like right in between the original series and Next Gen.
I haven't seen it yet, so I was Star Trek'd out after Voyager. It's just.
Oh yeah, that's a low point.
Yeah,
7 and 9 was good, and their relationship was good. Like Janeway and 7 was good, but yeah, Voyager was slow.
Well, Voyager actually, the best criticism I got with that is Voyager tried too hard to be too static, and I agree with that. I agree with that criticism.
No, Discovery is like it feels very much like Next Gen meets the original series, to the point that Captain Pike is in it.
Nice.
You know, the guy who was just a green button and a red button?
Yes.
Yeah, and then Picard is like a continuation of the movie franchise, only it tries to fix a lot of the stuff in the movie franchises, and people went like, what? So they're enjoyable. I'm not keen on how much they swear in Picard. It took me out of it in places, but it's Patrick Stewart's just awesome.
He's a great actor. So this is what happened. I have a theory. This is my theory. So I love DS9. I love Next Generation. And the original Star Trek, it was really good with this too. There was a lot of thought put into the dilemmas of the characters in all 3 of those shows. Like every one of them. Some of them went in different directions. Like DBS9 showed the dark side of the Federation in a very interesting way. Showed how people on the outside looked at the Federation. I thought that was a really neat take, and also probably the best ensemble cast of any Star Trek, bar none. All right. Next Generation is kind of a static show too, but you have incredibly strong characters. All of them are strong, including even the weaker ones. And again, same thing, dealt with some really, really, really complex dilemmas that actually required thought. When you got to the movies, right? The movies like shut your brain off, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or shut your brain off.
Yeah. They just I mean they just shut down completely. Boy, literally.
Okay. Wrath of Khan was a very literate film.
Yes.
Like the way they used like old subway, like submarine battle direction to do sort of the dogfights in space, and the fact that it was Paradise Lost and a little bit of Moby Dick, and like to understand what they were doing with Wrath of Khan, you have to look at the bookshelf in Khan's quarters early in the movie. It basically tells you all the inspirations.
Okay, let's get a couple of the exceptions out of the way. 2 and 4. 2 and 4 are complete exceptions to this rule. But if you look at the rest of them, 2 had an excellent director. Like that, like he knew his stuff. Like it was probably the best directed Trek film of them all. And 4 was
I don't think anybody would disagree with you there.
Yeah, 4 was just fun. 4 is a very fun.
People are very divided on Star Trek 4. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Some people can't get past a guy with a Czech accent running around looking for a nuclear vessel in the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
No, but it was meant like that, especially after 2 and 3 was a palate cleanser movie. But it's very good. It's a solid little one and done, right?
Yeah.
And all the characters got to go outside their comfort zones a little bit. My favorite stuff is when Scotty was talking to the mouse. I still love that scene. I think that's amazing to me.
My favorite thing in the whole thing is, what does he mean exact change?
Yeah.
Like that just cracked me up.
Yeah.
Star Trek 4, I think, was the movie where most of the cast was like, our lives now. These are the rules that define us in people's minds, and they made their peace with that at that point.
And they had
whereas, you know, in Wrath of Khan, Leonard Nimoy wanted out, and then he changed his mind and he didn't want out anymore, and that became the whole search for Spock. By 4, they were just like, this is it. This is what we do, and it's a paycheck, and people like it, and that's why we became entertainers.
Yep, and let's have some fun with it at least. And that's what they did.
Yeah, people underestimate the power of just things that are entertaining.
Yeah. Oh, I think fun is one of the most underrated. I've said this many times. Show me a person trying to sell somebody something is difficult. Show me a person that doesn't want to play though, and you're showing me a liar. Trick is just finding the game they want to play. Right?
Sort of inspired the Boss Fight.
Yeah.
The web series that I'm doing right now is with you know, Lady Bits, my previous show. People really liked the little 5-minute segment, the versus mode in the middle of it, that had 2 characters fighting with each other. And I enjoyed doing that, so I'm like, why not, you know, have a bit of information and a lot of fun, as opposed to a lot of information and a bit of fun, because I just don't find that a data dump of information persuades the majority of people. You persuade people when people can have some fun. And you can only nudge people. You can't totally change someone's mind in a half hour of media.
Sometimes I think you were just too smart for your own good. Like you are like my only Chris, like, because I funded like Lady Bits. You had so much information and good information. It was sometimes it was just like, okay.
It was overwhelming.
Well, yeah. Let me digest this, right?
Yeah.
Right. Let me digest this, and yeah. So the bits were really were. I still love Sparkle Muffin and the Evil Queen. That one still made me laugh the hardest. That was amazing, right?
It's funny because that character was supposed to be a one-off.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to be a spoof of the whole
Princess
damsel in distress thing.
I know. I love, but again, I loved it because honestly, one, it was exactly what expectations were. 2, I love the story you told that basically her opponent was her future self. I love that.
On that. That's good, because that's going to come back in Boss Fight. Actually, episode 2.
Nice.
That's sort of revisited. A lot of people didn't quite get that, and it's funny because, you know, Social Justice Warrior was supposed to be a one-off. It was just supposed to be a goof, and Princess Sparkle Muffin was just supposed to be a goof. But people really enjoyed those characters so much, and it's like, well, you know, maybe the way to go is narrative.
Yeah.
You know, like I agreed that, you know, I see the way the debate is happening on a lot of issues, but especially in video games, you can give people facts and data, really solid data, until you're blue in the face. It doesn't persuade them.
No.
Right? And so, for me, I'm like, all right, Boss Fight is a series that's a story where the damsel in distress becomes the hero, despite herself. And it's an exploration of, okay, how does that happen? Because quite frankly, I think the sort of damsel in distress trope gets a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a place for it.
Yes.
I think it was right to say that video games were overusing it, but that wasn't because they were terribly invested in the trope. That was just because everybody was copying Mario.
Yeah.
Right? And you know, hero rescues the princess is one of the few stories you can tell with very few words, which is what Nintendo had to do back then. And I don't know, I got really irritated by people using damsel or damseling as a pejorative, because all a damsel is a young unmarried woman, right? Mm-hmm. Like, why are we creating this, you know, pretty misogynist pejorative in the name of women's rights? Like, that's so stupid. And so I took this character, and I mean, like, Princess Sparkle Muffin's kind of a cross between Marilyn Monroe and Gracie Allen.
Yep.
And, you know, just ran with it really sloppy drunk.
Yes.
As well.
Oh, that definitely made it like. So there are two parts to it. For me, it was every Mario game I've ever played. Like I was like, okay, at some point, because she's been kidnapped for the zillionth time, she's had to have thoughts like this in her head. It's like, really? Like, why am I getting kidnapped so many times?
And in boss fight, episode 2, we get into why she's been kidnapped that many times. There's actually a plot behind it now and an explanation. Because, like, I kept thinking, like, okay, the damsel in distress might not be the main character, but she does have a story, right? Like, this idea that these characters, just because they're not the hero, they don't matter. That's ridiculous. Every story has to have a main character, you know? And so the experiment was kind of just pivot that, right? And what happens if we make that Princess Peach style character into the main character?
Mm-hmm.
And change her in terms of personality, character, and how she solves problems? Not at all. Just make it her story.
Yeah. Well, no.
And
sorry, keep going. Sorry, my bad.
It just the narratives I found with women is that in order for them to be sort of a main character, they have to become corrupted in some way, right? Like Sex in the City or The Good Wife or something like that. I don't believe in that. I think stories about inherently good people are stuff we need. I still like a good Superman story, you know?
I love good Superman.
Pants. What's that, sorry?
I love good Superman stories. They're just so rare. They're so rare, but I love them when they're there.
It is difficult to tell an interesting story about a truly good person, right? There's a misnomer that truly good people don't have ethical dilemmas. And so, you know, Princess Sparkle Muffin is sort of a person who she's been kept in a very cloistered existence for a very long time, and you know, so she doesn't know how to do things. She doesn't really have very much agency. She certainly doesn't have much autonomy. But despite herself, because she keeps getting kidnapped, she's been exposed to people who made choices. They were bad choices, but they were choices. And it's sort of, it's impossible to not be affected by people who, I mean, let's face it, we all, you know, our parents all encourage us to be that fairy tale princess. But it's impossible to look at one of those Disney evil queens and not go, she's friggin' cool. You know, like just the stateliness, the sheer majesty of, you know, the Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty or the evil queen from Snow White or something like that. It's like, you go, that woman's a badass.
Well, okay, so I was more sympathetic to Sleeping, I always liked the Queen more than I liked Snow White. I thought Snow White was kind of ditzy. I think that's the way. I think that's a nice way to put it. I kind of.
I don't know what it is about the super high voices, right? Like I have to practice, so my voice doesn't go that high.
Yeah.
I have to practice a lot to not crack on that, like. You know, it's so high, and to not lose the tone was, and I actually had my warm up for it is I actually, to find the right place, it's rain is thanks, because it's that peak, right?
Yeah.
And in episode 2, I actually have to sing in I did it to myself, but I'm doing a song in Princess Sparkle Muffin's voice. And I did a little bit of it in Lady Bits, but there's more to it. And man, it took some practice because it's totally out of my natural range, right? Like I'm a mezzo-soprano, I'm not a soprano. So it's a push, but you know how it is. When you do this stuff, when you're actually a creative, you have to push yourself to do things that might fail. Because if you're not risking failure, you're not improving, you're not learning.
And also, for you, this is a challenge. And one you've been looking for, I think, since an early part of your television days kind of ran their course. This is your show, telling your story your way. It's on you, whatever happens, and I think you love that.
When Ed and Red's Night Party finished, I didn't want to do TV anymore.
Yeah.
And I did This Movie Sucks because it was an opportunity as work and all that stuff. But I don't like the TV industry.
Nope.
It's scummy and cutthroat and not terribly fair. And, nobody who's worked in the industry was terribly surprised that, people like Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey exist. For every one of those guys that got caught, there's 4 of them that didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not like the whole thing. I love entertaining people, but I don't like TV. I like film less. There's too much standing around in film. In the gaming space, and YouTube's adjacent, and one could say, well, you're doing a television show on YouTube, yes, but there is it's a different feel. Like, first of all, you don't need a crew of 30 people to make YouTube videos. Some people do it, right? Some people do have those big television style crews, but you don't need them. And I prefer that. I prefer to just sort of have something that's more earnest, if that makes any sense. And then, video games, there's something just kind of amazing about everything just being, the entire world is created. Every bit of light on that screen had to be made by someone.
I know the appeal with video games for me. And for me, it's the fact that there's an extra element to the language that does not exist in television, that does not exist in film or books. It's interaction. Because
yes.
it's not just about the story you're telling, it's about the story you're playing.
And it's so great as a writer, right?
Yeah.
Because with a book or a movie or TV show, you have to pick an ending, right? Yeah. But with a video game, you don't. You can tell all the endings and let the player pick. It's great. Like, yeah. It's ideal. I admit I did that with Boss Fight too. It was the voting. I don't like figuring out how a story's going to end.
Really?
So I don't. Because I'm one of those people that I can see multiple ways. I will not start a story until I know how it's going to end, because it's my biggest challenge. And the great thing about video games, and then Boss Fight as an extension, is I gave 4 questions, like 4 sort of A/B polls to the Kickstarter backers, and it was first episode was, will Liana continue to hate The Sims? That didn't affect the plot, right?
Yeah.
But the other 3 do. Whether Princess Sparkle Muffin breaks bad, whether the social justice warrior gives up the fight for social justice, and I'm blanking. Whether Beelzebub actually gets involved as sort of in the outcome of the story. And so there were 2 branches for every character, which resulted in 12 different endings.
Yep.
And I outlined them all, and then waited to see what the result was. And the outcome ended being, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I will tell you, it was the one I thought was the least likely.
Huh.
Yeah. And it was very, very interesting. A couple of the votes were close, but quite a few of them were just pretty blowouts, like at least 2/3 majority on them.
Does Liana hate The Sims? Blowout. Yeah. Yes, she does.
Oh yeah, that was, but that wasn't actually the biggest blowout. There was one other that was like just no contest, and so it was that one didn't surprise me. But some of the other votes, I really thought they were gonna go the other way, and that's cool about doing that, is that you can have an experience that even, I don't know, when it's democratic like that, and you sort of show the results of the polling, I think that people see a sense of fairness, even if it wasn't the outcome they wanted. They can see that it was sort of the majority opinion.
You played with them.
And then it was like, all right, this is going to be a satisfying experience for the majority of people who are going to watch this, and I actually think I put in better work because I didn't have to make every single decision.
That's interesting. So I would then go so far to say that there was, again, you kind of applied a little game theory to your project, which is actually smart, and you got a little collaboration from your audience, which is always nice too.
Yeah, well, I mean, people got to write the backstories of characters too.
Yeah.
Which, so somebody else got to figure out why Princess Sparkle Muffin got captured all the time. And I really liked the way, I gave them a little bit of, this is what I'm going for, but I think they did a really great job. What they ended up doing, though, was taking the characters and putting them all in the same universe. And so it created this cohesive thing where they all had backstories where they knew each other. And it's like, that wasn't what I planned, but all right, we'll go with it. You know,
I could see why that would actually have to be. That actually makes more sense than I think you give credit for. It does actually, because I mean, they're all kind of. I mean, on some level or not, they're kind of from you, and I could believe they're all in the same game, if nothing else.
I mean, the skits and Lady Bits though weren't that deep. They were just intended to be laughs based on the topic, and so the fact that people found those characters meaningful, it's really humbling. You know, it's kind of the phenomenon that happened with Harley Quinn on Batman the Animated Series, right? She was just supposed to be a one-off, but I think that there's such a deficit in female characters that just sort of have an inner light to them, that when you see somebody on screen that, you know, pardon the pun, sparkles, you're sort of naturally drawn to that.
So I was looking at I was looking at 80s, like classic 80s movies, like which three were the most memorable to you, right? Now, personal bias, The Karate Kid is still probably my favorite movie from that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just me because it's damn near a perfect movie. It's not quite, but it's damn near a perfect movie. The second one on my choice was actually Aliens, the second Aliens movie, and the reason being is, like, I couldn't think of a better female protagonist in the 80s. I couldn't think of one. I was looking around. I was debating this in my head. It's like, is there anything else? And I'm like, no. And the only other character I can think of in video games that has a really strong female lead, you might make an argument for Zelda, but that's a 50-50 one.
Yeah.
Right? But the one that you can't really argue isn't a badass is Samus Aran, Metroid.
Yeah.
She's the only other one you can think of. I'm like, so you have Samus, and you have Sigourney Weaver, and that's strong women from the 80s.
Lara Croft, before they kind of nerfed her, was really a badass. We're getting better with video game characters. I mean, I think that Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn is a super interesting character. I'm trying to think of some of the. I mean, 2B in Nier, there's two badass women in Nier Automata. Now, okay, they're androids, so some people would say they're not really like human women, but they are killers. They kick a lot of ass, and the guy is the sidekick. Like, he's supposed to be this young man, 9S. But I mean, 2B, she smashes some stuff. She's pretty hardcore. And, like, you wouldn't think of it to look at the character, but that's the whole point. And then Bayonetta is another one I just think is great. Like, the sexuality is inherent to the character, and a lot of people don't get that.
Yep.
And then you get into fighting games, and I mean, the whole lid just blows off. There's so many great female characters.
My personal favorites are still Chun-Li and Cammy. I think they're the best overall. You make some arguments for a few other ones, but I think both of them are very, very strong archetypes.
Well, they've also had enough time to have a really, like, extensive history, and a lot of people taking a crack at that, right? Like, definitely Chun-Li's iconic.
Yes.
Right? But yeah, it's now I'm going back to that 80s movie thing, because for me, the first one that comes to mind is the original Ghostbusters.
That was on the list, but I didn't think, like, okay, it's an entertaining movie, and the tone, like the quality of act, it's an entertaining movie. But when I look at, say, I compare it to, like, just the themes and concepts of, say, The Karate Kid, or there's a couple other movies that fit that realm, and I'm like, it's great. There's nothing wrong with this movie. I can respect your choice. but I don't know if it's like if it was. I don't know. Just for me, I wasn't like the top of the top. But anyways, going back.
To me, it was just it was an action movie.
Yes, it was.
Right, but it was a comedy, but it was dialogue driven.
Yeah. Oh, it's an incredibly smart movie. There's no doubt. Like the first one is amazing.
You don't get movies that are written like that anymore because they have to appeal to like audiences everywhere, so you can't do the wordplay. And I mean, the original Back to the Future was great.
Yes.
I mean, the thing that makes it tough singling out a movie from the 80s is that there were a lot of great films in the 80s that said something without jamming a message down your throat. You know?
I would argue 1984 to 1989 in pretty much every industry was some of the most creative stuff you saw. Like, of that era. I think there was...
I would say 70s television was more creative than 80s television, but...
Yeah, fair enough. No, it's fair enough. 70s is before my time, so I can't really...
Well, that was when you got all those, Norman Lear sitcoms like All in the Family and Sanford and Son and the Jeffersons, and I don't think Sanford and Son was Norman Lear, but like all those social commentary sitcoms that you can't do now because too many people would get offended, but they were groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Those shows, but the movies in the 80s, I think like post Star Wars, it really changed filmmaking, and there was this great, golden age of filmmaking because you could tell stories that had an element of the fantastic, an element of mysticism, and people would, that's certainly what the Karate Kid sort of owes it to, kind of that Confucian wisdom element.
I just love that it was also a good expression of the light side versus the dark side of actually learning a martial art, right? Like Daniel and Johnny were just so good foils for each other.
See, the thing about the Karate Kid is it was a really beautiful movie, and it was a very positive message. But if it came out today, someone would scream cultural appropriation.
Well, yeah. I mean, then again, I saw the Karate Kid remake with I want to say Jaden Smith. I don't know.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was. It didn't add anything new to the concept. I mean, look, if you're going to replace Mr. Miyagi, Jackie Chan's a great choice. I'm not going to say that the casting was wrong. I will, however, say that it didn't. The original movies just stood up so well because you had a great cast. Pat Morita was incredible.
Yes.
I thought like you had a great. It was just like the right. It was the right magic. You had great messages. You had a very natural conflict in terms of again, like you look at Reese. Like Reese was like a legitimately scary. Like you could see a charismatic, like villain type that would inspire the acts like Johnny committed. And you're looking at that, and you look at Miyagi and who he is and his vulnerabilities. Like they were very human characters, all of them. And the theme and the themes were just they were incredibly well thought out. It just start to finish. That's why I really like that movie. It's not just it's a fun action movie. It's a great coming of age story, but it's also got some amazing themes about self confidence, self defense. I like you can see why the movie still stands up very well today.
So it is a very powerful commentary on. We are stronger when immigrants are allowed to maintain their cultural practices, right?
Yeah.
It's, I loved The Karate Kid when I was a kid. I was into The Karate Kid at the same time I was into Gremlins.
Gremlins is fun. That was also on that list. I almost picked that one, but I was like, I gotta go with Aliens over Gremlins. I'm sorry.
It's funny because The Karate Kid has a writer in common with I think it's a writer with one of my favorite movies of all time, but it's not in the 80s. Is Rocky.
Yes.
I mean, very similar, right?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I mean, as far as the hero's journey to becoming something.
Oh, sorry, it was the director. It was the same director, not
Erwin Winkler. Yes.
Stallone wrote Rocky. Yeah. It's the same director.
Yeah, you had like again, there's definitely elements to that in there, but Rocky is there that one man's journey to become something more, and we all like wherever we are in our lives, we all can aspire with that movie. We understand that because we all feel like we're fighting something, right? You're trying to become a YouTube, Twitch sensation, and you're doing the best work of your career. And I mean, I'm sure you have your doubts and insecurities about it some days as well. It's like, what am I doing? I'm doing the same thing, and Rocky's like that relatable. Like, what am I doing? Right? Why am I still in this position after all this time? Karate Kid does have some elements of that, but it doesn't have. But it's its own story. It doesn't feel like it's a rip-off.
Yeah. It's well, because it was a different writer, and there was enough different, but definitely there are sort of similar.
Oh, sure.
Direction in it, which make them both very, they're you would say, oh, they're both about violence, but they're really not, because they're both about people who are very they're more defined by how they can take hits than how hard they can hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the Karate Kid was just so memorable as well.
Yeah, like I said, I picked like Aliens was number 2. I had a soft spot for the Terminator. I just think Arnold Schwarzenegger is like the best monster villain ever.
The original Terminator or Terminator 2?
Original Terminator. Terminator 2 is in 90s.
Oh, okay. So yeah. I mean, I enjoy Terminator films.
Yeah. Terminator 2 is the better film. I'm not going to deny that. But Arnold in the first movie was a freaking monster, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't have gotten the second Terminator film were it not for the first one.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's just like I watched this. Like, no, I mean, this is what a monster should be like. Like, he's scary. Right? He's scary. He just won't stop. He like the Terminator is like what happens if you mash horror, like in a horror genre into like an action genre, and that's what you got. You got the Terminator because he's literally a Frankenstein monster. He's just gonna keep coming. And the story was really freaking cool too. So.
Yeah, I mean the era of Terminator 2, that was about, I think, the last time you could make a movie that it's so hard to make a great movie now. Mm-hmm. It's easy to make, they know how to make a profitable movie. But these movies that have made, $1 billion, they're not objectively great movies. There's something for everybody. People can walk out of it. A lot of people will walk out of it and go, that was okay.
So Sorry,
go ahead.
I'm never watching another Avengers movie.
Those movies are profoundly mediocre.
Yes, they are. I'm never watching another one. I realized after. So Marvel, I'll give them credit. Say, hey, listen, putting 20 movies like that together is a momentous feat. I will never take away Marvel Studios for their ability, and I'll never take away the cast and the commitment that took. But I will never.
What's disappointing is the one-off movies leading up to it were good.
They're great. They're great.
Yeah.
They're great. I think some are better than others.
They're great.
Yeah, but right. Some are definitely better than others, but they're great.
They had a soul.
Yeah.
The Avengers didn't have a soul. Granted, that's because it's Joss Whedon, and I find his stuff just generally soulless. But he has no concept of character voice.
No, he doesn't.
All his characters sound the same.
His gift is he does quirky dialogue really well. He could talk. That's about it. He doesn't.
Everybody's quirky in the same way.
Yeah, I know. I'm not disputing this with. I'm not disputing this with you.
We're in agreement, but it's just like.
Yeah.
And those, the original Iron Man was fantastic. The original Captain Marvel was fantastic. Sorry, not Captain Marvel. The original Captain America. Fantastic movie. I didn't think they could make a good Captain America because I find the character in the comics very boring. But they did it. The original Thor, fantastic. Viking Shakespeare, perfect. Yep. And so every single one of those movies had such a voice and such a sense of who this character is, and then that was gone. In the best Avengers movie was Captain America: Civil War.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't an Avengers movie.
No. Well, no, it was an Avengers movie. Let's not kid ourselves. It was. That's just a little.
It was. But it didn't have that Avengers brand on it, so it could actually be a good movie.
Yeah. But it's an Avengers movie. It's not That was Avengers 2. I don't count Avengers 2 at all. It just doesn't. There's nothing to it that matters, like at all.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Nothing.
Yeah. See, that also introduced Tom Holland, and I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Yes. No.
He's just great.
No. He's an amazing choice. I will give them this. This is the one thing I will give them. I did not think I could enjoy a Spider-Man movie again.
Agreed.
Yeah. I did not think I did not think I could do it.
I think Spider-Man is great as a TV show. It's very hard to make a movie work, and so they went ensemble cast with it.
Yeah, and they picked a really good ensemble cast to complement him too. It's really good.
Yeah, they went kind of John Hughes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it worked. But I mean, let's face it. The reason those Marvel movies were so enjoyable is they borrowed from Steve McQueen movies. They borrowed from John Hughes movies. You know, Kenneth Branagh came and made a Kenneth Branagh movie with Thor.
Yeah.
I guess Black Panther is maybe the first Marvel film with its own voice.
Captain America, the second Captain Winter Soldier, that one's pretty close too. I like, that's actually, of all the Marvel movies, that one's my favorite. I thought that was that one's just, I enjoy it because, one, it brought Cap to the modern world. I think I love, like, the cool thing about Captain America is he is a fish out of water.
Sorry, Captain America 2, not Thor 2.
No, Thor 2's terrible. Thor 2's actually,
right.
Yeah, right. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is actually, I think, the best Marvel movie.
That was also the movie where they figured out who Black Widow was.
Yes, that
it was the third movie she was in. It was the first one she was an actual person.
Yeah, but she was to me, like, I just thought that the cast, I thought Captain America, they were smart. They separated Captain America from World War II, and when they brought him to the Marvel, you had a sense of his sensibilities before he ever set foot in the main Marvel universe. I thought that was incredibly smart to do, because when he came in, you understood why he felt like a fish out of water. You understood, you understood it perfectly, and it was necessary. And then him, and then I thought, but I mean, I know the source material, and the source material was really good too. But I mean, it was an inspired choice for Bucky. That inspired choice is just, it was the right cast, the right message. It like, if I were to pick the first two Captain America movies together, I think are the absolute best of what Marvel can do.
Yeah.
Black Panther's 3 on my list. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't be objective with Guardians of the Galaxy because I never thought I'd see a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I thought less that they would be able to do it justice, and they did.
No, it's amazing.
A great job with that.
It's amazing. Well, the thing is, they could get away with it, that movie for one simple reason: those characters had no actual, like, prior, like, they had the least amount of baggage of all of the characters, so you could do more with.
I walked into it with so much baggage because I love the comics.
Yeah. Wow. Like, but there's not a lot of people. I hate to say it. I love Marvel's Cosmic Universe is awesome.
Yeah,
the Guardians was my least favorite part of it. Right? I'm sorry.
Oh, it was so weird.
Yeah, no. I love I'm a Silver Surfer guy. And
I love D-list team books. Right? So it's
Defenders.
Like Doom Patrol, Guardians of the Galaxy, like stuff like that.
Doom Patrol is actually genius. I think Doom Patrol is genius. I'm not gonna.
The comic, the show, or both.
The comic, the show I haven't seen, so I can't judge it.
Oh, the shows, I cannot believe how loyal they were to it.
Okay, if they because the comics are super underrated. They're one of those.
Comics have moments of shitting the bed, but they get back to it, right?
You have a monthly schedule. You're gonna screw it. Listen, I'm a Green Lantern fan. Let me tell you something. I've got So let me tell you something, okay? There are moments I have openly wept at some of the books I've read. I am a Green Lantern fan and don't even get me started on the movie. The movie was that movie hurts on levels I cannot.
I got dragged under protest to see Green Lantern. And I was so impossible to deal with after that movie. I don't have to see movies I don't want to see anymore.
Cool. No,
Yeah,
what they should. No, this is what they should have done with Green Lantern. This is my opinion. This is how you could have fixed this. They should have done with Green Lantern what they did with Captain America. Have Green Lantern get the ring. Abinster give him the ring. Have him fight Hector Hammond on his own in the first movie. Have Sinestro show up at the end of the first movie. Then do the Green Lantern Corps for the second one.
Okay, that was part of my huge disappointment with it too, because I thought that the best part of the Green Lantern movie was on Oa with Kilowog.
Yes.
But ever since that scene, I'm like, yes, this is good, and then it was gone.
Yeah. See, if they had spaced it out. See, like they had spaced it out. If they had taken the first movie to build Hal Jordan, struggling to overcome someone that can really just mess with his ring because he doesn't have any training, doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and all he's got is his courage. That's pretty badass, actually. If you fight, like, Hector Hammond is a good choice for our first villain. I actually approved that.
It could have been a really good sort of treatise on imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? A certain amount of imagination to use the Green Lantern.
Imagination, faith, and courage. Those are the big. That's why I love the concept of the character. It's just that's what it's about. Yeah. You have Sinestro show up at the end of the first movie to take him to train him.
Yeah.
Right? Just show up at the end. Don't have him don't beat Hammond. Have Hal beat Hammond. Then after he just overcomes, like, yeah, I think I got this. He meets Sinestro, and then the second movie, Sinestro hands him his ass. This is why you need training. Let's go to Oa. Right? And then you expand the mythology. You expand the core. Right? You develop Hal and Kilowog. You develop Sinestro as a full-fledged character. Then you show Sinestro's dark side. Sinestro's the boss in the second movie.
Yeah,
it would have worked. It would have worked.
I admit, I think in this day and age, a Jon Stewart Green Lantern movie would work better than
No. Jon Stewart would be my choice. Like, honestly, out of all... Okay, close second. I would say this. Jon Stewart would be choice one. Choice two would be Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz as a team. I would be really happy.
Yeah, for the same reason. Yeah.
I like the fact that Jon Stewart is the most nuanced of the entire Corps. He is a badass, to the umpteenth badass. I love, my favorite work of Jon is Green Lantern Mosaic, although I have to admit, the writer is deservedly so, bastardized from the industry. The idea that Jon, you can do so many interesting things with Jon. And He comes from an oppressed area. He's overcome, like, he is the embodiment of willpower. Like, literally, he's the embodiment of it. Because he has dealt with so much loss. And every time he loses something, he comes back bigger, stronger, better.
Yeah.
He is such an amazing, like, okay, I grew up reading Kyle. Kyle's the Percival of Green Lanterns. I love Kyle. But Jon is the man.
That's a great way of putting it. He's the Percival of Green Lantern.
Yeah, he is. That's what he is.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, he totally is. And Kyle, that's why Kyle is not a bad choice either if you were to do a proper movie. Because again, Percival is easy to get into. It's from a formula standpoint, there's an easy story you could tell with Kyle. But if you want to get like a Groudus, like an epic movie, Jon is the man to go for, because he's literally he's a badass. I think honestly they don't do him justice. Like, I'm enjoying Grant Morrison's run with Hal. It's a weird book, but it's fun. But I do feel like they are sitting on a gold mine with Jon Stewart, and they've never really
put him in the tune, and people connected to him, and then I don't know why DC makes the decisions it makes.
There's a stupid counter at the outhouse for a reason.
Yeah, like, so many. I think Wonder Woman became the movie it did by fluke, and you can even with Wonder Woman, you see that Patty Jenkins stepped in. It wasn't her project to begin with. She stepped in midstream.
So Wonder Woman is the character I want to like the most in DC, but it's also the character I can hate the most in DC. It literally comes down to who is writing her.
Yes.
Yeah, it literally comes like, if they get her, she doesn't quite have. Okay, you can't make her Batman. She doesn't have that. She doesn't quite have that range.
Yep.
And if you understand that, you can tell some amazing. Like, she deals with like integrity and honor and truth, and she has her own code of honor, and her own code of honor sometimes contradicts this, which I think is a really interesting thing about her, right? But so if you get someone that really gets her, like G. Wilson gets her, Gail C. Moon gets her, Greg Rucka gets her, right? You get someone like that, she is good to great. George Perez is still the man when it comes to her. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But
well, he was the first one to kind of, you know, post 70s do a bit of social commentary with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also George, I as a writer, George Perez is criminally underrated. Actually, he is. I think just because he was the art guy. Yeah.
In DC for so long that he wasn't allowed to have both. But yeah. I agree that as a story, like when he takes point on story. I mean, George, I'm biased with George. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. On top of it all,
he's one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met. He's literally one of the talented. Yeah, he's super talented, but he's also so sweet.
Yes.
If you don't like George Perez, I think there's something wrong with you. I
cannot see a conceivable reason that someone would not like George Perez.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got his flaws, but he's such a genuine guy. I like you. So when I met him, he was drawing Zatanna. And you know what he was fretting about? Whether or not he should give her a top hat. That was my first meeting. It was like, do you think you should have a top hat? I'm like, I can't tell George Perez what to do.
No, he's an absolute prince of a guy.
Sorry.
That's what's so cool when you meet somebody who is crazy talented and is also just an absolute wonderful person.
Yeah. Oh no,
I mean, it just throws the whole asshole to awesome ratio out the window. Like, you don't have to be an asshole to be good at something.
No, I actually, here's the other thing. George Perez is also the only comic book creator. He gets a free pass. Actually, there's two. Walt Simonson's the other one. He gets a free pass too. I don't care when your book comes out. I'm buying it. You're taking my money. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care if it's late. I don't. I know they're going to be good. He did a book, Sirens for Boom. It was late. No one cared.
Yeah.
No one. It's like, just do it at your pace.
I was like that with Darwin Cook before he passed, though, when he was just doing the Parker books. Like, he did one book a year, and they were wonderful.
Yeah. No. I actually, in my second novel series I'm releasing in November is it's a female version of Parker meets Quantum Leap. In large part because I read the Parker novels by Darwin Cook. So.
What the illustrated novels?
Yeah, I just love those. Like, they're so good. I'm so sad there's never going to be any more because they're amazing and
phenomenal use of minimalist color, huh?
Yeah, no, it's like I watch him. It's like, wow, that's really good. Like, really good. That's all I could say. Right? It's like shut up, take my money. I'm not gonna.
Really, really great work.
Yeah, there's something you can say, right? So, I mean, like, they're amazing. And by the way, Darren Crick gets Wonder Woman too. Awesome. But it's when you look at DC characters, the thing about them compared to Marvel characters is they're not as elastic as the Marvel characters, with the exception of Batman.
Yeah.
Batman is elastic as hell. However, I do think Batman is much like Wolverine was in the 90s. He's a giant whore. Now you can just put him in everything, and people seem to buy it right now. But yeah, all right. But but that aside, like, Green Lantern's close, Flash is close, but those two aside, you can't all the other characters aren't as elastic. And so when you are crafting a DC story like with these characters, I mean, the other big difference too, a lot of these characters come from a kid's imagination. Superman's the imagination of somebody that goes, hey, I want something that bullets don't hurt. Which, when you know Joel Shuster's story, it makes a ton of sense, right?
Yes.
And you look at Captain Marvel, hey, wouldn't it be cool to just be like the strongest man ever if I just said a magic word? I mean, these are kids' concepts.
I thought that movie was utterly adorable.
It is. Oh, no. Again, they were smart. They took Black Adam out of the movie because, yes, he's part of the mythos, but let's do it in pieces. Because
let's not blow our wad on all the good characters right out of the gate.
And also, I am looking forward to The Rock being Black Adam. That's going to be interesting.
I think he can do no wrong. It doesn't matter how bad a movie he's in. If The Rock's in it, I will enjoy it. I'm so looking forward to that Jungle Cruise movie.
Yes.
He's just so... He's not an actor. He's a movie star.
No, he's a movie star. Like, he's got such a charismatic presence. I hope actually, like, he's on, like I have, like, an echelon of people I really want to interview, and he's, like, in my top 5. Like, it's like, I would love to get that chance, and if I get that chance, I'd love to take it, even if it's just once. Because I sorry.
The Hobbs and Shaw movie, it wasn't a great movie.
No, it's not.
But, oh my god, like, just to see... First of all, Idris Elba in an action movie that he actually is part of the action.
Yes.
But also, like, just Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson in a buddy comedy. Like, it's worth seeing just for that.
Well,
their charisma overcomes the material.
Yeah, and you also literally have, like as far as the action movie genre, literally the last 2 action stars, I think.
Yes.
Like, they're literally it. Stayed up.
Well, except for all the guys that Sylvester Stallone is reviving their careers through the Expendables franchise.
Hey, listen, Stallone's having fun. Let him have his fun, okay?
I enjoy the Expendables movies.
Mostly. I wasn't so crazy about 3.
I agree.
Yeah, I wasn't so crazy. 1 is fun. 2 is... I enjoy 2, but it's not as... 1 was better. And 3 was like...
Too many young people in 3.
Just too many people in 3. I think he could have. I think he had to. Again, I love the idea of the action team for a particular assignment, and they're old / and even newer people coming in.
I get the sense that this studio insisted they have some millennial-friendly names, which was not the point of the franchise.
No. But okay, even if you do establish, let's say, a legacy concept in the Expendables, which, by the way, is not a terrible idea for the franchise, right? You don't. You have to balance it. Like seriously, team of 5. Just no more, no less. Team of 5.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that everybody has enough to do.
Yeah, exactly. Nowhere. Anyway, so we've talked for quite a while, haven't we? So, before we wrap up, is there anything else you're working on that I can talk about at all? I mean, you want to mention it now? Now's the time.
Yeah, no, that I can. Well, the FU Network podcasts. I do a critical thinking podcast called Broken Clock. FUNetwork.tv. You can find it there along with a bunch of other stuff. I also do a podcast called Hey Ladies. That's basically like a podcast Bechdel test. It's just women talking about stuff. Not necessarily about women's issues, just women talking about stuff. But that, because of COVID, it's sporadic right now because a lot of my panelists are moms of young kids and all their kids are home, so they don't have the same schedules right now. But that will be becoming more regular once this stuff all kind of settles down. So that's probably the only other 2 things. Other than boss fight. And then when I can talk about other stuff, I'll come back and talk to you then.
Okay, so then to wrap up, 2 final things. First off, I am always surprised how much we talk. I mean, it just, I feel like with you, and whenever we actually get the chance to chat, I feel like I could go to the bar, have a drink with you, and we could just go all night, and it's totally cool. Like, you're a very awesome human being, and I enjoy hanging out with you when we do get the chance to do that. So, thank you.
Same.
Yeah, number 1. Number 2, well, you kind of mentioned boss fight, but how about we do it formally? How about you just do like a official rap where you can find it, where your Twitch channel is, and how can people find you?
My Twitch channel is Red Liana K. I'm Liana K on YouTube, and I have to start a boss fight playlist. I will do that. I will do that this weekend. I'm so bad about the YouTube maintenance stuff, but yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, Liana K, or find me on Twitter. I'm Red Liana K on Twitter as well, and all the links, like the pinned tweet, is a boss fight link. So, you can see me doing interpretive dance in a pony mascot suit, which there's nothing not cool about that.
No, hey, listen, are you having a good time?
Yeah, well, that was another thing a backer picked.
Oh,
backers picked practically everything anything about the show.
Well, okay, I'll wrap this up with just saying what here's the silly thing I might have to do. If I win an Aurora again this year, I actually have to get in a 2-2 and actually do "Oops, I Did It Again" by Britney Spears.
Really?
I made a deal with Pat Flowing.
Nice.
Yes. So if I win, I actually it's got to be a plat 2-2. We got to figure out how to do this obviously in this time. That's going to be a little difficult for me to keep my word right away, but. Yeah.
How are they even doing the Auroras this year?
Oh, the Auroras are going to be they're going to be live casts like on they're on Zoom. So I'm a finalist again this year. So if I win, I'm going to be like yes. I'll have a moment of congratulations, and then Pat Flelling will go and I'll be like okay, yeah I know.
Nice.
Yes.
All right, I still have to vote, so that's a good reminder.
Oh, good Lord! I just encourage my doom. All right. But here's to the silly stuff, right?
Yes, excellent. Yes, silly is always good.
And that was my conversation with Liana Kerzner, man. She's one of the smartest people I know. And I think I love her work. I love her creativity. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, Liana, for Sparkle Muffin. I will treasure that for the rest of my life. But more importantly than that, guys, you should check out her series, both of them. Lady Bits is a great intro to her from an academic standpoint. The understanding of women's role in video games is very cool. I may have funded that. I may not have funded that. It really doesn't matter. Other than to say that it's an incredible series. It shows you the depth and talent Liana has. And check out her current series, Boss Fight, because that's pretty cool too. Alright, so I'm going to be... I got a lot of work this weekend, so I'm just gonna get to Alice Zero is up for pre-order. I'm gonna make the official announcement on it on episode 399 this weekend. Josephine Lord gets to do something really, really cool with her. I get to do my first ever concept album on my podcast. Josephine Lore is an amazing poet. I've had the pleasure of being in the audience with her many a time, and I'm going to share her works to the world, and it's going to be an incredible ride. And then Monday, or Tuesday next week, my future drinking buddy, I call her, but actually, I'm really, really proud of AJ Verana. She worked her ass off to get her book out, and The Hollow Gods is going to be an amazing thing. I've bought it, I've ordered it, I can't wait to read it. That's right, I'm rooting for you, AJ. She's going to be my guest for $3.99, and then we get to episode 400, my first episode of August. Is my 400th episode. Can you believe it? I can't. But at that somewhere between 399 and 400, I will give all the details. But until then, guys, that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. I have a tip jar now. You can subscribe to the podcast on Podomatic, and there's also a tip jar. If you want to leave a tip for my PayPal, feel free to do so. Any little bit helps. It doesn't really matter. But if you want to actually get something for it, check out my book, The Cloud Diver. The link's in the description below. Just click on it. Buy it if you like it. If you like a cyberpunk, steampunk adventure, there's definitely that. Subscribe, share, let people know if you like the podcast or you dislike the podcast. That'd be cool. My YouTube channel is Josh Pentellaresco. I have currently 328 episodes in there. And the thing will be 329 after tonight. Yeah, really, really freaking cool. My Facebook page is Josh Pentellaresco, author podcaster. On Twitter and Instagram at jpentellaresco. Let me know how I'm doing. Stay inspired, everybody. Keep being yourself. And I'll see you guys this weekend.
Josh.